Hey there, Tad Hargrave from Marketing for Hippies with another puttering session case study. So this was a call I had today, and I wanted to record it before the memory of it flees my mind. It was a couple of women who basically do organizational development work with nonprofits, but they don't call it that. and they would work with nonprofits who are, dealing with a lot of troubles, people leaving, feeling unfulfilled, dealing with, issues of race, class, gender that erupt, wanting to be more aligned with their values, etc. And so this is what we talked about. So the first thing was they'd done a bunch of exercises that my friend Rose Slam Johnson had recommended to them to help them clarify their point of view. So they actually had quite a bit already. One of the things that jumped out to me is the authors they were into, which is a great exercise if you're ever trying to figure out your niche. What are the authors that they enjoy? Who are they into? So it was people like Adrienne Marie Brown, Brene Brown, Bayo Akamalafe were folks that came up, which gives me a sense of the flavor of who we're talking about. And as we spoke, I said, well, we're trying to figure out what's Island A, what's the problem? And she said, well, it's what, or there were two of them. And I said, they've got the ideas, they've read the books, listened to the podcasts, seen YouTubes. So they're probably, by the time they reach them, they're inspired by the ideas, but there's this question of how to integrate them. And they're feeling stuck. And this is a good question of why do they need you? Because she said, well, they've probably already read these things. I said, okay, so if they already have the general ideas, then they should just go do that. That's smart. Yeah, go do that emergent process. But of course, having the idea, especially a loose idea, is different than implementing it. So, but the question was, why do they need you? And that was something I give them as homework, and that's something I'd really recommend for everybody. Why do they need you? Especially if they're already there's a dawning awareness of why they're stuck. If they already are in alignment with your point of view, if they basically see things the same way, I see I'm eating too much sugar, I'm not being vulnerable enough, I'm being too vulnerable, I don't have my niche figured out. There's all sorts of problems that people can have. And they're aware of what the issue is. Oh, I need to do this thing. Great. So then they should go do it, right? But they don't. So why don't they? What's missing? It's good to really sit and think through what are the different elements of your work that are required. So for example, in their case, they thought, well, obviously people need somebody outside their organization, whether it's you or somebody else, which is critical. It's not that here's what you need, us. No. Broadly speaking, they need somebody outside of their organization to come in and take a look. That's at least one of the elements that has been missing. They've been trying to do it internally by themselves, and that's probably just too difficult. But I said, come up with 5 or 6 things, like a Venn diagram, or 3 or 4 things. Here's the 3 things you need that you've probably been missing. Here are the blind spots you've had. Here are the elements you've not included. And because you haven't included them, you've had the ideas of what to do with your organization, but you haven't actually succeeded. And then as we were talking, they said, we did the perfect moment exercise, where you do 3 columns. It's too soon, perfect moment, too late. And as they really thought it through, they thought, okay, the perfect moment is not when it's exploding, when there's been a huge Me Too allegation in the organization, when some call out, some cancellation, mass exodus of the organization. But I said, but wait a minute. Is that true? That's not the perfect moment? Maybe that's not the perfect moment for your main offer, but maybe you could come up with a package for those people. It's one of the secret purposes of business models that most people don't suspect, which is your business model can be there to help you get your clients ready to be ideal clients for your main offer. So say if somebody's a nonprofit executive director and they've just gone through hell and everything's collapsed, well, they probably need some help. So maybe you could come up with a DIY program, that could help them just get through those steps, the initial things. Maybe there is a process you could give. I felt the same way with Clients who come to me desperate for cash flow, they needed it quick. And then I created a program called The Meantime, which I think this next year will be my 12th year running. And it's a very popular offering I have, and I really enjoy it because I came up with a process that didn't have me stuck in reaction, because this is often what happens, right? People come to us desperate and drowning, and we get caught up in their reactivity and we're improvising. Better to have a structure where we know, okay, if you're in this kind of a crisis, here are the generic steps you need, and we walk people through it. So we don't get caught up in their maelstrom. They get caught up in our piece. Yeah, they get caught up in our process. So there's that. Oh gosh, there were so many things we talked about. So they were going to think about that. They were going to continue to work on their target market. And this was the other thing. I've said this a lot in videos, but it was a piece of advice I gave them of, look, oh yeah, that was the other thing. I said there's probably a few different target markets here. One is there are people who are executive directors of leading the organization, but a lot of their clients came from people who were already in the organization, maybe middle management, and they'd heard about these consultants, and they're like, man, we want to bring you in. So you could have one page like, hey, are you a part of the organization, or are you the leader of the organization? Two different landing pages. So when they get to the homepage, you could have links to both, and then they can go to one that speaks to them. So the one for the executive director is like, hey, it's pretty tough. You're leading this organization. You know, you're feeling the need to shake things up, or things are getting shaken up. You're wanting to implement these ideas, but you don't know how. And then for the people in the organization, it would be something more like, hey, do you see these possibilities for organization? You want to see these ideas implemented, but your boss isn't necessarily on board, and how do you do that? There could be that. So two different landing pages. But I said, when you do a presentation, the presentation is not, here's why to hire us. It's saying, look, do you, as an organization, want to make this journey from island A to B? You've had these amazing ideas. You want to implement them, but you don't know how. You feel stuck. Here's what we think you should do. Here's the elements at play. You know, that the niche, the target market, all this is just, it's like the key that gets you into the house. It's so small, but its consequence is so immense. That's what gets them to the workshop. But most of the workshop is, here's what's in the house. Well, and then at the end you say, oh, do you want to rent a room? But them getting a tour around the house is much more important than how good you are at pitching the rental. So there was that. Gosh, what else did we talk about? There's so much. That may be it. But those are some ideas that came. Here they are trying to help these. Oh, that was the other thing. They were saying, yeah, you know, the truth is we do this emergent process, so none of us know how to do this right. We're all caught in this, you know, the worst elements of a kind of hierarchical capitalist consumer culture. We're all trying to get results fast, and that's what everybody wants. And even that's, you know, the people who are running these organizations, they want results fast, but they're also seeing the consequences of going so fast to the results. They know they need to slow down at some level, but how? And so they're saying, you know, we don't know. No one knows how to do this. So it's emergent. We're going to have to slow down to figure out what's actually needed here. That's really helpful, because that is then one of the first things they say in their workshop. We know you want to get social change. I think that was the general journey. These executive directors, they're really passionate about social change. They want to make a difference in the world, and they want to do it quickly, but how do they do it? And so the pitch is actually, well, to go quick, to make significant social change, we have to slow down first. We got to, you know, be effective. That was the other thing too. They'd done some social enterprise program at a university, and out of the 6 months, 2 of those months were spent on the pitch deck. How to create a pitch, you know, a slideshow that pitches people on your initiative. And I laughed and I said, maybe I'm over exaggerating, but if I had a program like that, the last day would be on the pitch deck. And I'd show them a bunch of examples. I'd give everyone a link to a Google Doc or a thumb drive with, here's a bunch of pitch decks from other projects. Go through, come up with something like this, because it's such a misapprehension to think that the pitch is where all the emphasis should be. The emphasis is not on the pitch, it's on the point of view. If they go through a whole presentation of these 2 women and they buy the point of view, they're likely to buy the product. If they don't buy the point of view, they won't. So that's their homework too, is to really hone and clarify what are the premises their work is based on, what are the elements that need to be in place for those people to be applying all these things. There's certain things that are missing, that are not in place, and therefore they can't seem to apply all these lofty ideas. So what are those things? That's stuff to clarify. So there's a lot of homework for them, but while doing it, I got my kitchen clean. I made a meal. It was great, and I hope they do well. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to put them in the comments below, but that's what comes to me to share from this point of view case study. I hope it's of some help. And of course, subscribe. If you like these videos, share these videos up is one of the most helpful things you can do to help this grow. And if you give it a like, I think it also boosts it as well, and more people get to see the video. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care.